Hello, welcome to the Bag and Frag Hag Digest. It's Trina here. Welcome back to my channel. And as you can tell from the title, today is going to be a little bit different from my regular content in a couple of ways. First of all, the topic, I usually talk about fragrances and bags on my channel. And second, I'm unscripted. Usually I do script my content because I don't want to ramble on and give you the ums and ahs, but I guess today is going to be a chatty video where I basically go over what happened to me. So the last week of June, I think it was the 23rd, if I'm not mistaken, a Saturday, I woke up sick. I had the flu, or so I thought, and yeah, for the whole weekend I was progressively worse. So I took Monday off and I went to a clinic, and I had a fever, of course, so they wouldn't let me in the clinic because of the virus going around. So they came out to service me in the parking lot, and I took one of those spit tests. Oh, there we go. Okay, that was just a delivery. I've been getting a lot of deliveries the last few days since I got out of hospital. Actually, this is my third day. No, 1, 2, 3, 4. Technically 4.5 days out of hospital now, and boy, those days have been interesting. But let's start from the beginning. So I wanted to do this video because I find these COVID experience videos informative and helpful, and I watched so many of them before getting sick myself, never thinking that I would get sick. I don't know, apart from my friend in the hospital, I don't know personally any other people who have caught it, and I never thought I would get it. I wanted just to explain why I've been away from YouTube for a little while, and hopefully this information is informative for someone. So the end of June, the 23rd, I came down with sickness, as I said, and I got tested in the parking lot. And that evening, it only took 7 hours, they called me and said, yep, you have the virus. So from then on, I started to get a whole bunch of phone calls from the prefectural government, the coronavirus section they had established, and they drilled me with questions about contacts, and of course I had to be in contact with my workplace. And I was just kind of feverish at the time. It's all a bit of a blur. You know how you get when you're feverish. You think you're okay, but in retrospect you're cognitively disturbed. And they asked if I wanted to go into a hotel or in hospital. Of course, I didn't want to do either. I thought I was okay. But, you know, my health background is, you know, I'm no spring chicken. I am overweight, and I have a very strong history of asthma and bronchitis. So not exactly a safe case, I guess. But I'm also coming from I guess a good constitution genetically. I've only ever been hospitalized once in my life, and I'm over 50, and it was a voluntary minor surgery when I was in my 20s. No major diseases or illnesses or anything like that in my family. Of course, older on, there's some mild diabetes and some heart disease, but those are all lifestyle related and not really genetic, in my opinion. The first, I guess, Monday, following the Saturday, there's Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday, I stayed at home, and there was just no change to my condition. I just had the flu. So my symptoms started, and progressively through the whole thing, it was fever. Fever was the big symptom for me, and all the things that go with fever, like, you know, aches and pains and chills and lots of sweating and just feeling generally malaise, you know. I didn't have any, of course a headache, but I didn't have any major coughing like I usually have. So for me, the whole experience in terms of severity was, you know, because I've experienced so much nasty bronchitis, and I've had food poisoning and diarrhea. Those are really hardcore things to deal with at the time when you have them, right? And I did have some, you know, diarrhea later on. That's a different story. But overall, I, you know, didn't really experience nausea or, for me, very large chest issues. However, the test proves something a little different than that. So yeah, so I thought I'd be okay at home. And in retrospect, I'm very, very glad I had to go to hospital. And in the end, it wasn't my choice. I was told to go to hospital because of the severity and the continuation of my fever. I did go to the hospital during that I guess after Monday, that 3 or 4 day period when I was at home, to get chest x-rays and to get blood samples. And I had understood that it was okay after that to stay at home. But because my fever continued, they said, no, your chest x-rays weren't that great. And they put me in hospital. So, I'm in Japan. It was a public hospital, so I'm very grateful because the whole thing was completely free. And I got wonderful care. Yeah, very grateful, because I think in other places that might not have happened. And in retrospect, I think it would have been really hard to look after myself at home. And I did get quite a bit of drugs for symptoms that were, hardcore drugs that were for things that I don't have, like rheumatoid arthritis, and drugs for the side effects of the drugs. I can put a list of them below if you're interested. I think they were drugs to prevent nastier symptoms coming out, in addition to treating the symptoms that I did have. So the first week in hospital when I was very sick, it's a bit of a blur. Basically, again, my major thing was fever. But in retrospect, it was also my lungs. It was like my whole chest was wheezing, very deep wheezing. But my oxygen levels never went low enough where I was required IV or oxygen. And they took a total of 5 blood samples throughout my period there. And my white blood cell count was all over the place. It was too low, it was too high, and then eventually it leveled out to normal. And some other things, I'm afraid, I'm not a medical expert at all, but some key indicators in my blood work were a little bit concerning for the doctors. And my chest x-rays also showed a lot of damage. And that is the one thing, in addition to exhaustion, that I feel now is lung capacity. It feels like my lungs feels like I've traded in my lungs for a really old pair. Basically, it feels like they physically shrunk. It's tight. I can breathe okay, but it's just small. I don't know how long that's going to last, but I'm hoping with time it'll get better. I was in hospital for a total of 15 days. The first 10 days, I didn't have an appetite. I did lose my sense of taste and smell, and as a perfume reviewer, this was very distressing. I've heard of people who have lost their sense of smell for a very long time afterwards. Food tasted weird. Now the hospital food is terrible. It was one of the reasons I didn't want to go to the hospital, and it's a silly reason. I'm such a princess, but I am vegetarian, and anyone who's lived in Japan knows what a nightmare that can be. Since moving to southern Kyushu, I became pescatarian, but I don't generally tell people that I eat fish sometimes, because then I just get fish and that's it. And I eat a lot of vegetables and fruit in my diet, a very, very, very high fiber diet. That's what I'm used to. And of course, the sludge that I got in the hospital was very low in fiber and nutrition, in my opinion. And as a result, I got bunged up. And then they gave me some kampo, which is Chinese medicine, so it's technically not as chemical, to sort of get things moving. Didn't move. But in the end, it did, and it did quite badly. All those drugs piled up, and that's when I think the cure made me sicker, basically. So the night before I was released from hospital, I got a really high fever again, and I think it was a result of having to deal with my situation down below. It was not good. But the next day I was back to a normal temperature. Basically, the last few days of hospital were for me the most difficult, because I didn't have a fever anymore, and I was just dying of boredom. After I got my initial x-rays, they called me and said, oh, you have to come back to the hospital on Friday. But it turned out not to be Friday. It turned out that they wanted me on that day. So I had to pack my clothes in an hour and get to the hospital by a certain time. And I forgot my laptop on the kitchen table. I brought my peripherals and I left my laptop. So I was bored. The only thing I had with me, I had clothes, toiletries, a whole bunch of liquids, and my phone. And basically my phone, I've never been addicted to my phone, but that was a lifesaver. I'm so grateful for all the the contacts I've had with people. You know, we had internet and it was great. As you can see, the lighting is different right now. It's later in the day, so I'll insert this clip somewhere in the middle. I forgot to talk about what the process was like in the hospital here in Japan. Basically, all of the staff, the nurses and doctors were vaccinated, but nonetheless, they were double masked all the time, and they wore gloves, and they had little PP, you know, the protective gear, not hazmat suits or anything like that, but, you know, just like plastic outfits. And it was so hot. I feel bad for all the staff that was working in the hospital, because although my room was air conditioned, for budgetary constraints, there was not air conditioning in the greater hospital area. So the staff were lovely. They checked on me regularly, like first thing in the morning. When they came in, they reminded me, you know, to take my 3 tests every day. And the 3 tests consisted of temperature, your heart rate, and your blood pressure. We got little machines for that, and also your oxygen levels. So this is the device. It's called an oximeter, and you put it on your finger and you press the button, and it measures SpO2, PI%, which is your level of oxygenation. And right now I'm, you know, about 98%, 97 right now. And basically I never went under 95. So for that reason, I never had to go on oxygen or anything like that. Basically I was told that it's of concern if you're under 95, so I was okay. And they take temperatures in your armpit. So the whole time, and even out of the hospital as well, I'm still suffering from fever, but it's manageable right now. But basically for 2 weeks straight, I had a fever of over 38 degrees at the highest point, a couple of times over 40. Bad days, definitely close, you know, upper 38 degrees, 38.8, 9, etc. And then the goal was to get me down to, you know, under 37, so 36. Usually I run high, so 36 and a half, 3 days in a row without any medication. And then I was released at that point from the hospital. But basically I had to do these 3 tests 3 times a day after a couple of hours after meals. And I had to, because of the drugs I was on, it raised my blood sugar level, so I had to get blood pitches every now and again to make sure that my blood sugar level wasn't too high. So I kept on a low sugar diet, and that was all good. I didn't have any problems, so that was good. In addition to temperature and SpO2 and blood pressure, I also had to check all of the shoujo, or conditions that I had. So, you know, everything from nausea to vomiting to diarrhea to cough, sputum, you know, the whole list of typical COVID symptoms. So gradually, after the first week, I started to get fewer and fewer. The last to go, and it's still here, is of course a tightened chest, and I wouldn't say difficulty breathing, but shortness of breath for sure. So yeah, that was my day-to-day in the hospital, and it was pretty boring. I was so sick of passive entertainment by the end of my stay, you know, YouTube, audiobooks, actual visual books, reading, Netflix, social media. That's all I did. And, you know, I enjoy those things normally, but not to that extent. And I was excited at the end of my stay to just get down to typing, get back to video editing, even get back to work. Oh, I'm indebted to so many people for taking over my duties at work. So overall, my COVID experience was, I think, mild to moderate, but it was a little bit dangerous at some point because of my blood tests and my lung tests. There's damage in my lungs, and I'm no longer with the virus, but I am definitely taking a long time to get back to normal. I'm exhausted every day. The day I got out of the hospital, I picked up some gas. I drove through Starbucks, enjoyed a matcha cream frappuccino, and I went to the grocery store. And in the grocery store, I'd take a few steps, and then I'd have to lean over my cart to catch my breath. And I just took my time, got all my stuff, came home. I couldn't put the stuff in the fridge was just so exhausted. And at the same time, I was so excited to do stuff. And one of the things I wanted to do when I was out the first day is, funnily enough, to clean my fridge. I don't know why I was obsessed with this, but I did it. It exhausted me more, but I'm glad I did it, and it felt good to do something. I guess it's a sense of being that lack of productivity that's taken away from you when you're sick for a long period of time. At this point, it had been over 3 weeks. And the funny thing is, when I was in hospital, there were 5 of us in the COVID ward, and another woman that was there was another foreign woman, an American lady, who I didn't know that well, but I did get to know, although we didn't see each other face to face. She's a friend of a friend, and I did get to know her very well, and we texted and called on the phone and whatnot. And the funny thing is, her case was more severe than mine, and she had some background conditions, and she was there much longer than I was. She came in earlier, and she left a couple of days before me. And the funny thing is that she told me when she got out, she cleaned her fridge too. So must be something to that. Very strange. But she came over with some banana bread for me on the day that I got out, and we had a nice chat where I'm sitting right now. And I was on Mercari, and I bought a Louis Vuitton bag for her daughter. So I'll share that with you in another video. Actually, that arrived today. I did do a lot of window shopping when I was in the hospital, and as soon as I got out of the hospital, I pressed the buy button on Amazon and Nitori. Well, Nitori I went face to face, but basically I've been getting deliveries for the last few days, and I've been very much enjoying sort of cleaning my home, and I'll share some of my goodies with you. There's a few bags coming up and a few perfumes, but yeah, right now I'm just focused on trying to heal. I'm not at work right now. It's Monday. I'll be taking a few more days off. I can't imagine going through a full day at work. Just exhausting thinking about it. But on Saturday, I got out Thursday, and then Friday I went out for some errands. Yesterday I also bought a washing machine because mine exploded. That was exhausting. And actually yesterday, or the day before yesterday I should say, I got a fever and I was in bed for a while because I was overdoing it. Just so excited to be active again, but obviously I have to slow down. So back to the hospital experience. As I said, the food was sludge. The good thing out of it is that I did lose quite a few kilos, but I think I've already gained a couple back because I'm just so excited to eat food that's right for me. Some bread and cheese and things like that, more Western food that, I'm a Westerner, I like Western food. But moving forward, I'm gonna try and look after my health a little better, I think. So I have done a lot of shopping recently, and yes, it is related to my COVID experience. So I just felt like, Trina, if there's any time when you deserve a treat, I think it's now. You've been through a little bit of hell here. It's okay to spend a little money, and I certainly feel okay about it. So I'm happy to share my new goodies that are on the way if they're not already here. I'm looking at a couple of them now. So I look forward to future videos to share with you some new bags and frags. But, oh, see, that's just saying that sentence is tiring. Overall, with this COVID experience, I feel blessed on so many levels. I feel blessed to have the healthcare system where I am. I feel blessed with the way that on the health side of things, not the political side perhaps, but the health side, I feel good about the way they've handled everything. I know they kept me in the hospital maybe too long, but that's for safety and protocol reasons. And again, I didn't have to pay for any of this. I'm grateful for all my friends and family. If anything has been shown to me here, it's that I have such a wealth of wonderful people in my life, and that really comes out in a time of crisis. You do get to know who your friends are. There's unfortunately one issue, personal issue that I've had to deal with, but I'm not going to talk about that on the channel. But overall, I'm blessed in that regard. And I'm also blessed that I do have good health. I'm grateful to my genetics and that I was able to fight this thing. There are a lot of people who catch this virus who have a lot harder time than I have. So, yeah. How did I get it? I don't know. In retrospect, I look back and I remember having a little bit of an eye, like a sty in my eye, and I was touching it and scratching it, and maybe it was a fomite that got in there. Could have been that. Or it could have been breathing something. I don't know the particulars of that. I also don't know from whom and where I got it. Now, for the past, since this situation started April 2020, I have not been social. Most of my weekends are at home alone. When I do go out, it's in the outside. The mask is on. No, I'm not perfect. I don't think anyone has been. And I have friends who are very lax about it, and I have friends that are also a little bit paranoid about it. And I try to stay within reason. But generally speaking, I know that I have some, lung problems, that I'm overweight, that I'm not that young, so I'm more prone than others. But in all likelihood, I got it at my workplace because our school has been open for business, face-to-face classes. Unlike a lot of others, I have never really respected that choice. I have gone along with it, and I have followed the protocol, kept the windows open, washed my space, kept my mask on, all of the things, right? But I do suspect that I did probably get it from a non-symptomatic student. However, I am the only one at my institution that has caught it. And after I got sick, they shut down the school for a day, they cleaned it, and then they tested, not everyone, but select people, and there were no positive cases, and it was deduced that I didn't get it from school. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I think it's most likely that I did get it from my workplace, but there's every possibility that I got it outside as well. Who knows? The point is that even when you're following protocol, because I kind of was, you can still get sick. People who are riskier in their behaviors might not get sick, and people who are careful might get sick. There is luck or unluck involved here, is what I'm saying. And I find it very ironic that I got it just before that call for vaccinations came in. A little bit of bad luck there. My only hope now is that I don't suffer from this for months to come, but I think there is a possibility of that based on how the difficulty I'm having at the moment getting back to normal. But I'm confident I will, guys, and thanks for your time here today. I look forward to the next video where I'm going to talk about my regular fare. So stay tuned for that. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for listening. Bye.